All right, hello there, welcome back to another wee bit different video. Today's video, we are doing another tier list, and today's tier list, rank every first NFL draft pick since 2009 tier list. Now, if I'm being honest with you, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of where I'm going to rank a lot of these guys. So if you're forgetting who's been picked, don't worry. There's pictures of all of them down here. I got a pretty good idea of where I'm ranking most of them. There's a couple where I'm conflicted on, but let's just get it going. Matthew Stafford is the first one we're going to touch on here. As a Lions pick, he is responsible for bringing Jared Goff over. But Matthew Stafford is one of those quarterbacks who you can say this guy is more than good enough. He may not be a superstar like a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson, but he's someone who you can depend on to take you the distance, as we've seen with him on the Rams. Now, I will say, it's unfortunate that he couldn't win it with the Lions. It's unfortunate that, the Lions had to trade him. But you can't deny his ability. And again, he didn't win it for the Lions, but still won it for the Rams. I'd say he was a good pick. Next up, we have Sam Bradford. And this pick was obviously just an outright bust for the Rams. Didn't do anything of note. Didn't have a single Pro Bowl season and actually just lived as a career backup. Just unfortunate all around, honestly. It just didn't work out. I can't say that I blame the Rams for taking him. I feel like he was the consensus first pick. Even back then, I was still a young kid, but I still followed the NFL then. I would say it was an awful turnout. Can't blame him for making that call, though. Cam Newton. This is one that's really tough because you want to say, okay, maybe he was perfect if he won that Super Bowl. That would have been an ideal perfect pick. He got them to the Super Bowl. He showed out and showed why he was the number one pick with his athleticism, obviously being able to run with the ball and just overall having a cannon of an arm. But getting injured, obviously hurting his shoulder, it really derailed everything. But he took them to the Super Bowl and he had some real respectable years. Pretty sure he has an MVP. Pretty sure Cam Newton won an MVP one year. Andrew Luck is a tough one. I think no matter what, you have to say he's a good pick, at the very least. I think he was perfect in terms of how he turned out regarding his individual play. In regards to his career, he only played 6 years. So this is one of those that's really, really, really difficult to touch on because when he was playing, when he was healthy, he was top tier, one of the best quarterbacks in football. There's no debating that. He was so good. But obviously only playing 6 years, I would say it was a good pick. If you would have just played even another 2 or 3, you could say it was a perfect pick. Maybe he would have taken them to the Super Bowl because, again, he was unreal with how he played. Of all 3 quarterbacks here, he was, in my opinion, the best quarterback. He was so good. But damn, just really unfortunate how it all went down. Unfortunate that the Colts fans booed him after announcing his retirement. Moving up next, we have Eric Fisher. Now, I am not one to be grading offensive linemen like that. That's something that, unless it's the Dallas Cowboys, I can't really touch up on too much. But I think he was there for 8 years, 2 Pro Bowls, respectable pick. I remember him with the Alex Smith era for the Chiefs. And yeah, you really can't go wrong with the guy that makes 2 Pro Bowls and is there for at least 8 years. Maybe it was 9 years, but it's a respectable pick. It may not be something that just jumps out the screen and is like, oh, bam, Eric Fisher, elite, best of the best. But it's a respectable pick if you can take someone who's going to give your franchise that much service. And again, 2 Pro Bowls. Jadeveon Clowney, I'm actually curious. Let's go to his draft class real quick. Jadeveon Clowney. Draft class. Who was taken after him? Sammy Watkins. So Khalil Mack was the 5th pick. He would have been the ideal pick, but it was, Aaron Donald, the 13th pick. He was never going number 1. Jadeveon Clowney was the consensus number 1 pick. He was everyone's, this guy's an insane athlete, super fast for his position. He had some really good years with the Texans. But ultimately, I don't remember him being there for longer than 5 years, I want to say. Jadeveon Clowney, career 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say not worth it, honestly. 5 years for a number 1 pick is certainly not an ideal spot. Now, he wasn't Sam Bradford bad where he was just a bad player, not a good enough player to really warrant a #1 pick. Not worth it is where I'm going to leave Jadeveon Clowney. Jameis Winston, you know, you could argue awful. In 2019, he threw for 5,100 yards, which is a lot. 33 touchdowns is a lot. But 30 interceptions is egregious. That is god-awful. That is not what you want. Jameis Winston, 30 interceptions? Oh. This is a tough one. I'm having a hard time of deciding not worth it or awful. I'll leave him there for now. Okay, it's forcing me to put Baker Mayfield somewhere. We're going to leave it there for now. That is not considered the rank. But Jared Goff is an interesting one because with the Rams, wasn't the best quarterback. I mean, they even traded him for Matthew Stafford straight up. Not straight up, but they even traded him for Matthew Stafford because they didn't feel that he was a winning quarterback. Dude, this screen is freezing a lot. They didn't feel he was a winning quarterback and he could take them all the way. Had some success with the Rams, but he really started to blossom with Detroit. First year with Detroit wasn't great by any means. After that, he's really just boomed. And this season, he's been phenomenal. Not a great fantasy quarterback, but he's doing everything that the Lions need him to do. He's being super accurate, super efficient. Games where they need him to blow up, he blows up. It's one of those things where it's like, didn't have the most success with his first team that picked him, but he's been amazing these past 2 seasons. So respectable because he is a direct result also of the Rams getting Matthew Stafford. So that's a tough one. Baker Mayfield is a tough one to grade as well because he didn't have the most success with the Browns, and the Browns bailed on him early in favor of Deshaun Watson, trading away Baker. Goes to the Rams, has an amazing game-winning drive in a game with the Rams, then goes to the Bucs. The Bucs start him. He has a great start with the Bucs, and he has success. And this season, he's been solid. It's tough to rank these two, but I'm going to say respectable just because they've turned out to be really good players in this league. But if you wanted to argue not worth it, I totally understand that just because the teams they were on originally didn't have the most success. Kyler Murray. This one's a bit tougher. I would say he's a good pick. You know, you see Andrew Luck next to him and you're thinking, oh, Andrew Luck was way better. The thing is, Andrew Luck lasted 6 years. As far as I'm concerned, Kyler Murray is not retiring anytime soon. Right? Thing with Matthew Stafford is that he didn't have the most success with the Lions. His success was with the Rams. Thing with Cam Newton is, you know, his career's over. He didn't win a Super Bowl. So Kyler Murray, as of right now, you know, putting him next to these 3 names is tougher because he's not as good as them in terms of what he's done in his career. But he's a good quarterback in this league. You know, he's someone who's really good at being a dual threat QB, whether it's sometimes having to air it out, other times having to prolong plays in the pocket and get out of the pocket just to make some super uber awesome, crazy plays. Other times he can be a bit disappointing, you know, not having the most passing yards and not coming in clutch when he has to. But all in all, Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. As of right now, I'd say he's a good pick. Definitely not perfect because you got to win a Super Bowl, right? That's the ideal spot right there, or at least have a Hall of Fame career. Kyler Murray, though, it's frozen again. But Kyler Murray's right now, you might be able to argue respectable. I would say good right now. Joe Burrow. You know, it is so early to determine whether he was a good pick or a perfect pick, but how I'm leaving him right now is he's the perfect pick. You know, you draft him, you need a franchise quarterback, you need someone to absolutely prove to the city of Cincinnati that you guys can compete, and my goodness, Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, just insanely good. He can just put dimes on dimes on dimes on any ball. Obviously paired with Jamar Chase is even better. Joe Burrow is really, really good. You know, by the end of his career, he could end up being a good pick because maybe there's no Super Bowl there, but he's already taken him to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's his last time being there. I think if the Bengals can surround him with a solid defense, doesn't need to be great, but just a solid defense, I think Joe Burrow can end up being the perfect first pick, period. Trevor Lawrence is looking like a Not worth it pick right now. To be honest with you, they signed him to a big extension. They're paying him a shit ton of money, but right now he just doesn't have it. You know, 3-4 years down the line, maybe he jumps up to respectable. At the very least, you know, he's in Jacksonville. Like, he's going to stay there. It seems like that's just what's going to happen, and might have a long career as the Jacksonville quarterback. But right now, just really not impressing. Not impressing. Team's struggling. He's struggling. Borderline respectable or not worth it right now. He hasn't blown anyone out of the water, but he had 10 sacks last season, right? That's respectable. A respectable second season. Okay, so this season so far, he's got 6.5 sacks. I'd say he's been respectable just in regards to his numbers. Now, I know that the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind is, well, they could have had Aiden Hutchinson. Of course, and Aiden Hutchinson, you know, in hindsight, clearly would have been a better pick. Even people at the time were saying, how is Travon Walker being the number 1 pick instead of Aiden Hutchinson? But, you know, I can't argue who's better. It's obvious Aiden Hutchinson's better, but they didn't take him. Ultimately, they took Travon Walker, and so far he's been respectable. It's only his 3rd season. There's a lot of time. Bryce Young, you know, as much as I want to say awful, it's his 2nd season. So it is so early. But right now you're saying not worth it. He's been bad. He's been really, really bad. There's a lot of things that you could say, oh, well, his team sucks. His defense is egregious. His weapons are terrible. The running back room isn't great. The offensive line is really bad. You could argue a lot of things with Bryce Young. Ultimately, it's still his 2nd season. There's still a lot of time. The jury is still out. But thus far, he is not worth it. I wouldn't say awful just yet, because it's so early. If, you know, he finishes the season and doesn't show any improvement, maybe you can put him there. But he just beat the Saints. And Caleb Williams, right now, he is looking like a good pick. Can't say he's looking perfect yet. It's his rookie season. We literally have no idea how the next 5 years are going to look like for this guy. What I can say is, so far, his team is 4-4. Had some rough games, but all in all, it really looks like he's just learning the playbook. It really looks like the game's slowing down a lot more compared to week 1. He's shown signs of really just being able to show out in this league. He's really looking like a good pick right now. Can't say what it'll look like 5 years from now. Again, it's super early, but I would say good pick. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree or agree, some of these you could definitely argue with. It's not easy to put Jameis Winston in awful or not worth it. It's not easy to put Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff in respectable when they didn't really blossom with the team that drafted them. So, couple of things you could argue with, but ultimately this is what I'm happy with. Let me know what you guys think. As always, I greatly appreciate you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. It goes a long way into helping the channel out. As always, this is Ollie Been Different. We've been different. And we out.